Right now, the scientific community and the global online public are locked in a tense standoff regarding the true nature of the interstellar object 3I Atlas. As of this morning, Wednesday, the 19th of November 2025, NASA is preparing to break a 43-day media silence with a high-stakes press conference scheduled for 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This event will release high-resolution images captured by the HiRISE camera during the object's recent Martian flyby. However, the narrative surrounding this release has been fundamentally altered in the last 12 hours by a viral theory that is forcing the space agency into a defensive posture. The immediate driver of this controversy is a viral image analysis circulating on platforms like X and Reddit, which claims to identify a specific artificial structure in the object's coma. The theory, popularized by the Heliocode channel, alleges that amateur stacking of available data reveals 7 distinct jets emitting from 3I Atlas. The analysis claims these jets are geometrically aligned to match the layout of the pyramids of Giza. This technosignature theory asserts that the jets are not natural outgassing vents, but artificial thrusters actively maneuvering the object. The timing of this viral explosion is critical. It fills a vacuum created by the recent U.S. government shutdown, which paused NASA's public communications for over 6 weeks. During this blackout, speculation has mutated into a dominant online narrative. As of early this morning, the hashtag number 3EY80less was trending with explosive intensity, forcing mainstream science journalists and astronomers to address the pyramid jet's claim directly. The core mystery driving this fervor is legitimate scientific data. 3I Atlas is exhibiting significant non-gravitational acceleration, yet it lacks the massive dust cloud or coma that is physically required to produce such thrust naturally. We are actively working to separate the raw astrometric data from the viral image interpretation. The situation has escalated into a transparency war between established institutions and independent online analysts. The central allegation from conspiracy communities is that NASA's delay was operational, an attempt to scrub the upcoming HiRISE imagery to hide these 7 jets, while mainstream astronomers dismiss the pyramid alignment as classic pareidolia. The sheer volume of public engagement has made it impossible for the agency to ignore. NASA officials are reportedly restructuring their presentation for the 3 p.m. briefing. Originally intended as a standard data release, the event must now serve as a comprehensive debunking session. The agency is under pressure to provide raw, unprocessed files immediately to prove that the 7 jets are artifacts of image compression and stacking errors. Let me explain the data driving the underlying mystery. The fundamental issue giving traction to the pyramid jets theory is the undisputed behavior of the object itself. Since its detection earlier this year, 3I Atlas has defined standard gravitational models. As of the latest tracking data, the object is accelerating beyond what gravity alone can explain. This is a confirmed anomaly. In standard cometary science, non-gravitational acceleration is caused by sublimation of ice. As sunlight hits a comet, ice is turned to gas and blast off the surface in jets, acting like a rocket engine. The problem we're struggling to resolve is that 3I Atlas shows almost no sign of the material required to generate this push. Deep space imaging from October 2025 reveals a spectral signature that is startlingly dry. If a comet were outgassing enough material to shift its orbit this drastically, it should be surrounded by a massive, bright cloud of water vapor and dust detectable by telescopes worldwide. Current observations show no such cloud. The object appears as a compact point of flight, more similar to an asteroid than a volatile comet. This creates the dark comet paradox, an object that moves like a rocket but looks like a rock. Because the natural mechanism visible outgassing is missing from the data, the door has been left open for alternative explanations. This is where the pyramid jets theory inserts itself. Proponents argue that if the propulsion is invisible to standard spectral analysis, it might be highly directional, efficient, and potentially artificial. We are now analyzing the heliocode images to pinpoint the source of the error. According to independent image analysts, the jets likely result from stacking artifacts. When amateur astronomers combine multiple short exposure images, misalignment can create linear streaks. Furthermore, when images are overprocessed to bring out faint details, random noise can be connected by software into lines or geometric shapes. However, the counter-argument from the online community is that the specific geometry, 7 points, matching the Giza correlation, is too precise to be random noise. This mathematical argument, however flawed, is compelling to a lay audience that feels excluded from official science. This morning, in a media appearance at 6 a.m. EST, I stated that if NASA's upcoming images fail to show a massive gas cloud explaining the acceleration, the artificial propulsion hypotheses must remain on the table. I explicitly reference the possibility of thrusters in this theoretical framework. We must follow the data, not the bias of the observer. If the acceleration is real and the outgassing is absent, then the object represents a new class of anomaly. Whether that anomaly is a dark comet with invisible outgassing or an artificial probe is the question the data must answer. This leads to the geopolitical dimension of today's events. The intensity of demand for U.S. data is compounded by the fact that China has already released imagery of 3I Antilles. Yesterday, discussions peaked regarding China's Tianwen-1 orbiter data from October. The perception online is that China is winning the transparency war while Washington hid behind a government shutdown. The high-resolution imaging science experiment aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter is the most powerful camera ever sent to another planet. When turned toward 3I Atlas during the flyby, it should theoretically resolve the shape of the nucleus and potentially the immediate vicinity of any outgassing vents. HiRISE is the only instrument capable of settling the jet debate. If the object is a natural dark comet, HiRISE should show a craggy, erratic surface with perhaps 1 or 2 active regions venting gas. If the pyramid jet's theory has any basis in reality, HiRISE would show distinct, high-contrast plumes. Most likely, if the theory is pareidolia, HiRISE will show a barren rock, proving the jets were merely digital ghosts. The scientific consensus remains firmly on the side of natural phenomena. The leading theory to explain the dark comet paradox is molecular hydrogen venting. This hypothesis suggests 3I Atlas might be releasing hydrogen gas, which is transparent and difficult to detect, but light enough to provide significant thrust. This would explain the acceleration without the visible dust cloud. However, explaining invisible hydrogen gas to a public captivated by pyramid jets is a massive communication challenge. The visual of a geometric alien craft is far more compelling than the physics of molecular sublimation. This disconnect is the core of the conflict we're witnessing today. The division is not just about aliens versus rocks, it's about the democratization of data analysis. The heliocode viral thread represents a growing trend where open-source intelligence communities attempt to analyze raw space data before agencies process it. When the government shutdown paralyzed NASA's public outreach for 43 days, these independent analysts filled the void. They built a complex, self-reinforcing narrative that NASA must now dismantle in a single 1-hour briefing. Current ground-based observations add another layer. Observatories tracking 3I Atlas report that the object's brightness is fluctuating. This light curve data indicates the object is tumbling or rotating. Viral theorists argue this rotation is controlled. Scientists argue It's the chaotic tumbling of irregular planetary debris. If the rotation is perfectly periodic and stable, it supports a rigid, potentially artificial structure. If it's chaotic and changing, it points to natural outgassing torque. Critics of the viral theory point out that cometary jets change constantly as the object rotates. A pattern that looks like the Giza pyramid layout at one moment might look completely different an hour later due to rotation. The heliocode analysis is accused of cherry-picking a single frame while ignoring hours of data where the alignment disappears. Despite this, the 7 jets narrative has crossed into the mainstream. Major news aggregators are now running headlines asking, "Is 3I Atlas artificial?" solely based on social media volume. This feedback loop forces serious scientists to engage with fringe theories, lending them unearned credibility. The agency's acting administrator, Sean Duffy, is expected to open the 3 p.m. press conference. Sources suggest he will address the delay directly before handing the floor to the HiRISE imaging team. The structure will be explanation of the delay, reveal of raw images, scientific interpretation of the acceleration, and a Q&A session that will almost certainly be dominated by questions about the viral jets. If the images are anything less than crystal clear, the ambiguity will be weaponized. A blurry image will be seen as a soft disclosure or a scrubbed file. A clear image of a rock will be called fake. The threshold for satisfying the conspiracy demographic has moved beyond the reach of standard scientific evidence. It is no longer enough to show what is there. Science must now exhaustively prove what is not there. The pyramid jets theory is difficult to kill because it relies on interpretation of ambiguity. As long as the acceleration remains unexplained by a visible cloud, the invisible thrasher theory will remain viable in the public imagination. Let me clarify the specific data points we expect to see today. First, the astrometry. We need the precise value of the non-gravitational parameter. How strong is the push? Is it constant, or does it pulse? A pulsing acceleration would align with the rotating jet's theory, while a constant push would be harder to explain. Second, the spectrum. Did the Mars flyby allow for closer spectral analysis? If HiRISE or other Mars orbiters detected even a trace of organic molecules or refined metals, the conversation shifts entirely. If they detected carbon monoxide or nitrogen, it strengthens the dark comet theory. Third, the morphology. What is the shape of 3I Atlas? The viral theory implies a structured, perhaps pyramidal shape. Radar data from earlier suggested an elongated cigar shape similar to Oumuamua. Today's images will confirm if the object has disintegrated, changed shape, or maintained its integrity. The comparison to Oumuamua is unavoidable. Like 3I Atlas, Oumuamua accelerated without a coma, sparking the initial scientific debate about artificial origins. 3I Atlas is essentially the sequel, but it arrives in an era of deeper digital distrust and higher viral volatility. The images we'll see today were taken in early October. We're viewing the object as it was over 40 days ago. In that time, 3I Atlas has moved millions of miles and is currently heading out of the solar system. The delay in data release means that even if the images show something spectacular, verification is becoming harder as the object dims. Analysts want the raw IMG files, the telemetry, and the calibration frames. They want to reproduce the stacking process themselves. The heliocode channel has promised a live stream reaction to the data dump, creating a bizarre spectacle, a race between NASA scientists and YouTubers to define reality for the public. We are witnessing the death of the static press release. In the future, agencies may need to live stream data acquisition to prevent the buildup of conspiracy narratives during processing delays. The 43-day gap was a catastrophic failure of information management. Even if the pyramid jets are debunked by this afternoon, the mechanism of their virality will be studied. The alignment of distinct geometric patterns with anomalous physical data creates a super stimulus for conspiracy ideation. It connects ancient mystery with future fear in a way that dry spectral graphs cannot compete with. The pyramid meme has already mutated. New variations suggest the jets are not for propulsion, but for communication, a binary code. While entirely baseless, it illustrates the adaptability of the viral narrative. As soon as one aspect is debunked, the theory shifts to maintain its viability. As we approach the 3 p.m. deadline, the atmosphere is electric. The scientific community is hoping for a clear resolution, a chunk of nitrogen ice, sublimating invisibly, tumbling through the dark. The viral community is expecting a smoking gun that validates the pyramid model. The images released today will be the highest resolution data humanity will ever possess of 3I Atlas. The object is leaving and will not return. This press conference is the final word on the visual appearance of this interstellar traveler. In the immediate next steps, NASA will begin the live stream at 3 p.m. EST. The first 10 minutes will be crucial. Watch for the specific language used by Acting Administrator Duffy. If he uses terms like anomalous features or unanticipated morphology, the viral theory will explode. If he sticks to standard commentary activity, the battle will move to forensic pixel analysis on Reddit and X. Upcoming observations from the James Webb Space Telescope are also rumored to be part of the discussion. If NASA announces a JWST target campaign for 3I Atlas, it implies there is still something worth looking at, something the high-rise images did not fully resolve. As of today, the 19th of November 2025, the mystery of 3I Atlas is no longer just about what is flying through our solar system. It's about who gets to define truth in the age of algorithmic virality. The pyramid jets might be a phantom of digital noise, but the acceleration of the object is real, and the acceleration of the public's distrust is even more tangible. We are witnessing the collision of astrophysics and internet folklore in real time.